David. You've been inside me.
Julie.
I've swallowed your cum. That means something.
Slow down.
4
Hey.
times. It means something, David. 4 times.
Stop the car.
It's 24 hours a day. I live with this aching possibility that you might call me to do something.
Yeah, let's go to your house and we'll talk this out. I want to see where you live. Let's just slow down. I want you to stop the car, Julie. I want you to stop the car!
Don't you know that when you sleep with someone, your body makes a promise whether you do or not? Tell me something, David. I mean, do you believe in God?
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Ryan. How are you doing?
I am doing so well. I feel a bit sleepy. Perhaps I need to wake up some more. Perhaps you will help me open up my eyes.
Do you want to do the episode a bit later then?
Yeah,
So
do you
just
mind?
stop now and come back?
Can we
in an
wait
hour
like
or so?
125 years or so and I can come back here and we can get there?
I was going to say I have things to do, but I don't know about in 125 years exactly. So
What
I
about your
guess-
descendants?
Oh, I was- You're like, can we do it in 125 years? Like, I've got things to do this week, though. You know? I'm thinking too short term.
That's your problem. You're thinking in the short term. I'm
Yeah.
thinking big picture, baby.
Yeah, what am I going to be doing in 2150?
I don't know. What will you be up to? What do you think will be happening with you? Do you think you'll be playing hoops?
I think I'm going to be the topic of, a meeting of worms where they're like, I ate the yummiest man.
You know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say, I'm going to be a topic because of my manifesto that I made. Like something really sinister about your future.
Yeah, the worms ate my manifesto as well.
Ah, man.
It was the yummiest manifesto.
Bartek's skull is going to be studied in 125 years when phrenology is back in fashion. And they're going to say, this was clearly a Polish male. You can tell by the shape of the head. It's very pumpkin-esque. And then your jaw opens up and it makes like a quack noise and further evidence.
This is the skull of a man who thinks they can think of 125 years in the future, but they're really thinking about 4 days in the future.
For you, that's almost like 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Every minute is like a day for you.
Can we
That's like your virus, your curse, your disease, your symptoms.
Can we please stop doing podcasts every century? I want to get them to them quicker.
Yeah. You're mortal in your world. You're like living dog years to the extreme. But we are spit and polished likingly because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish, and we are here for this discussion, doing Pictures Powwow, to talk about a movie that has come recommended, whether that recommendation is from Bartek, myself, or you, the listening people. Each week, it is one of those options. This time round, it was my choice, and I simply went on, what's a film with Conan O'Brien in it that I want to talk about? I wasn't going to do it, but then we did our South Park discussion and storytelling discussion, and it felt dishonest to break the rule of 3 and to have Conan be my most watched actor of the year by the end of the year.
Yeah, listening people, we don't always say like, oh, you have to listen to every episode or else you're going to be lost. But I would recommend going back to like the ending of our last episode just to hear Ryan on the spot deciding, no, this film.
We're doing Vanilla Sky, the Cameron Crowe film, starring Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Jason Lee, Conan O'Brien, of course.
It's directed by Cameron. It stars Cameron. There's a Cruise and there's a Cruise.
Who those two dated after this movie for a couple of years because he just finished up his relationship and marriage with Nicole Kidman. Fell apart, or like they broke up, and then it's a whole slew of things. But everyone, if you have not seen Vanilla Sky, how best to describe it? Well, it's an American remake. There's that, just to go straight up the top with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that up front because this is a very American film. This is very American. It's very flashy. It's very in your face with its direction, but the story is quite surreal. It's quite dreamlike. The man in the center of it all, Tom Cruise, is handsome, he's rich, he's loved by everyone and everything around him except for the board that he is the member, like the head of the company, but he just has too many things going on in his life, and well, destiny comes in and says things aren't going to go well for you, and we see Tom Cruise, the beautiful man, have to reckon with the fact that maybe life isn't as easy when the things that you know are taken away. That's the best way to describe it, because I don't want to give away like super specifics, because it is a movie that like wants to surprise you with what it's doing.
Yeah, the film I'm about to mention came later, but this felt like someone took the film Any Questions for Ben, like inspected and said like, I need to make this crazy or something.
It's like if the Australian film Any Questions for Ben,
Starring me,
Any Questions for Ben, a film about a young self-absorbed man who thinks he's going through some profound quest to understand himself, was also the film Mulholland Drive. That's where this film lays.
Yeah, and I'm in it.
And Bartek is in this film too, actually.
Not in this one.
He plays a car.
I was only 8.
Bartek goes vroom vroom in this movie.
It's foolish of you to... Never mind.
You're only 8? That doesn't feel right. It feels like you're only 2 million years old by your rules of time.
That's a good point.
That's a great point, actually. But everyone, please watch Vanilla Sky, because we're going to get into the details of it. We're going to get into the spoilers of it. And it is a film best consumed blind.
Yeah,
honestly.
this is one where watching it blind is the ideal.
I recommended this. I have seen this movie before. I have a very strained relationship with Cameron Crowe, the director. I do not like his movies, but I want to like his movies. I have not seen his most beloved movie, Almost Famous, a film that everyone really adores. I have not seen it. But I have seen Jerry Maguire, which he did with Tom Cruise, and that's a very well-liked movie, one with lots of acclaim, Cuba Gooding Jr., of course, and the, show me the money, all of that stuff. I don't like that movie. I want to like that movie, and it has so many elements that I love. Like, the performances are good. I'm pretty sure Renee Zellweger is in that movie, and she's Then he did other work like Elizabethtown with Orlando Bloom and I want to say Keira Knightley, but I hate that movie. I hate that movie with a fiery passion in my soul, and our good friends over at the Contrarians have a whole thing called the Elizabethtown effect, in which you think you hate that movie, then you revisit it, and it's actually good. And I think they're wrong on Elizabethtown being that movie, because I think it stinks on ice. I hate it.
Is
I
it generally
loathe it.
Is it generally liked?
It was a movie that was middling. I think for most people, but it's very pretentious is how I would describe it. But I'm looking at it. He did We Bought a Zoo. What a weird movie. And the one I remember, his most recent affair, which is, when I say recent, 10 years ago, Aloha, which is a film that's so baffling because Emma Stone plays a Vietnamese character.
Mm-hmm.
Just take that in.
Well,
Emma Stone, Best Picture winner herself, as a Vietnamese person. And it's not like they did any makeup or anything. You're just supposed to buy that this character is supposed to be purely Vietnamese. You're not
purely Vietnamese. Okay.
You're not supposed to be like, oh, half. She's like, her name is like fully there. It's just like, I'm supposed to buy that she's that. I'm pretty sure it was Vietnamese, and it's like set in Hawaii, and it's got all this weird cultural stuff there, and it's also like a movie about how great the military is, and it's just like, what am I supposed to feel about this? Yes, her character is Allison, spelled with 2 L's, but then her last name is NG.
Okay.
And it's just like, I'm supposed to believe Emma Stone. But Vanilla Sky is the one that I feel the most strained with, because I have loved and hated this movie simultaneously. With his other ones, I want to like it.
Yeah.
This is one where I love so much of it and I despise so much of it. It is just a real whiplash effect. I've only seen this movie now 3 times. I saw it once halfway through on TV, which I don't feel is like the best gauge of it. And then the other time I went out of my way to watch it and I was like, oh boy, I don't know how I feel about this. And so it was a good choice to come back to it, review it, and I'll just say out front, there is an original film that this spawns from, Spanish language movie, I do believe.
Yeah.
Penelope Cruz was in that as the same character, called Open Your Eyes, and I've never watched it. And I feel bad because a part of me was like, should I watch it? And then I was like, I watched Vanilla Sky. I was like, no, gotta focus on Vanilla Sky. And after I watched Vanilla Sky, I was like, nah, if I do want to watch Open Your Eyes, I'll need a bigger break because this film, it's a lot. And I don't know if I want to do an almost shot-for-shot redo again.
Yeah, they said
or
that...
a very similar redo again.
The trivia said that it was like a very faithful remake.
To an extent, from what I understand. There's some big differences, but yeah, to an extent. So, what was your experiences with Vanilla Sky? Had you heard of this movie before, seen it before?
No, this was really blind. Even when I was confirming that this was the film, because I didn't ask you, like, oh, what was the name of the film? I just looked up Conan O'Brien's filmography. I'm like, oh, it's that one. It was Vanilla something, Vanilla Sky. I was probably like 97% walking into this episode very confident that I watched the right film, in fact.
Good.
But yeah, I basically only saw that, Conan O'Brien's in it, Tom Cruise is in it, and that the genre had like suspense, thriller, mystery kind of thing in it. So walking in only with that knowledge, I had no idea what I was in for. It could have been, a sci-fi film.
It reveals itself to be that slowly.
But yeah, as the film's going on, like I brought up any questions for Ben before. I'm like, okay, we're starting off kind of similar to that film. But then, yeah, you have this kind of framing device that's happening where there's a story being told from much later, recapping these events. So it's like, okay, where's that going? And you don't go back to it for a little while, but then once you hit a certain point, you really start to be in this kind of crazy mind-fuckery zone where just anything seems to be happening. You're trying to piece things together. And yeah, it was a very interesting film.
I do admire the fact that this got made, that this was a big movie, that this is a movie that had star power behind it, that this was a movie from a director who was making acclaimed work. I like that Tom Cruise has cited this as his favorite film he's worked on, or at least one of his favorites.
Oh, it's certainly been an interesting one.
Yeah, and I think he is attempting to do so much as an actor in this one. There's so much here to just be in awe of. I like that it's just so weird. Like from the beginning, it's weird, but then it just keeps going with it and keeps going with it, and you wonder. Say, for myself, I have lots of problems, but I wonder, like, how many of those problems are intentional on the film's part? Like, if I say to you, my problem with such and such in the movie, I wouldn't be surprised if you said, well, I think that was intentional. And it's like, well, okay, then there's the level of, like, how does that skate by of my enjoyment? And then, well, is this a film that wants you to enjoy it? So how much does it want to antagonize you? Because this film is antagonistic. It's very flashy in its presentation. The editing is nightmarish. The music is non-stop. I do giggle. The opening of the movie is like Tom Cruise running through Times Square, and it plays the song that I associate with Kung Pao. that especially the DVD menu for Kung Pao, that like really over the top. I can't even replicate it for you, but if you play that scene again, they use that song in Kung Pao a couple of times, and it's like this weird kind of almost Indian pop sound, like weird sounds all over the place, and I always associate it with the Kung Pao DVD menu because that's the song they play in the menu.
Okay, well, that's not a frame of reference.
But it's in Kung Pao as well. But okay. I had a giggle at that. But upon rewatch, I'm still pretty much in the same place. The start of the movie is a struggle for me. The middle of the movie, I'm in it. I love it. And then as soon as Tilda Swinton shows up, I'm out of it. Gone. Lost it, done. Then the ending happens, specifically the last shot of the film before credits, and then I'm completely against the movie. I just said, okay, You've tipped your hand too much here. You've lost favor with me. And it actually made me, and I'm not joking, people, if you know this podcast, you know my feelings. I've always felt bad that Mulholland Drive is the David Lynch film I don't like very much. This actually gave me a greater appreciation for Mulholland Drive and its restraint and its confidence in not directly telling the audience things, because that's my main critique. This movie comes to a point where it feels the need to explain things too directly. Even if you say, well, is that real? I don't like that we get to a point of exposition in the movie in the way that it handles it. I wish that it was fully dreamy throughout the whole entire thing, like your Mulholland Drives or like so many other movies that kind of hit this vein. I lose favor with the film because it won me over for so much of it, and the way that it's like just a pure nightmare experience, and yet you feel like you understand it on an emotional level, and then there just comes the point where it's like, no, this is a science fiction film.
Yeah.
And we need to explain the science fiction of it. And I just go, no, don't do that.
I'm pretty much with you on that too. Yeah, there's not to the same extent, but I think of, what this film is doing and all the things it literally has done. I'm like, yeah, this film's like right up my alley, but why don't I love it? Is this kind of question I'm asking. And I was actually getting a little bit annoyed. I didn't read too much of the trivia, but I read a little bit of the trivia, and there was just a lot of repeated references to, like the 5 different interpretations of the film. It could go any one of these ways. And I got annoyed reading those because I'm like, well, I don't care about that, because the film kind of did railroad my understanding in such a way towards the end that, like, if this film's asking me like, oh, do you want to trust that? It's like, well, yeah, because the film went there at the very end after, all of this confusion. So I don't really want to further, analyze it because the film finished.
It basically locked the door and threw away the key to playing around with its interpretations. I bring up Lynch because he's an obvious example, but there's so many filmmakers. But I always think of the Lynch thing of like why he never wanted to explain his movies. Because it's more fun for you, the viewer, and it's great that you have these interpretations. And that's where you and I think are at the end of the day with Vanilla Sky. It's like you can read that there are these 5 specific ways of viewing it. I hate that in itself, let alone the movie locking the door at the end where you and I feel like we're railroaded into a certain understanding of it. I don't like that there's 5 ways to view it, actually.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that so much. Like,
I can see if you're like a super big fan of this film, there's like the Vanilla Sky fandom that could be interesting. But
yeah.
For me, just as the person viewing this film that kind of likes some of the ideas it's doing, it's like I don't want to go that deep into it.
That's why I get trepidatious about recommending films somewhat of this ilk, because I loathe the film discussion where, say, I am here on the podcast and I say this was my interpretation, and then I have the Vanilla Sky, like at the
interpretation
fans,
wars,
and then I get that no, you're wrong. It's actually this, and you are stupid for thinking otherwise. We can have our differences, like when we talked about, say, the Neon Demon. I have interpretations of that movie were different than yours, and that was fun. But imagine if it was like we were watching it, I was like, no, you're actually wrong. Fuck you. That's why I get a bit trepidatious about films that can go this way, and that's what I feel a little bit with this. But even the film itself brings that to the table. It's like, oh, you were enjoying it this way, Ryan? Wrong. I even forgot it was a science fiction film for most of it. Like and I'm a sci-fi guy, so when they brought back around, and I remembered the ending, of course, but when they brought back around the frozen dog thing and like there's cryo freezing and all this, yeah, there was seeds throughout, but like I felt so invested in the other elements of the movie that when it actually just fully fledged became science fiction again, it made me disengage.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the film that this made me think of the most is Bicentennial Man.
Okay, I was thinking, elements of Any Questions for Ben and Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah, Stranger Than Fiction. That's a good one.
Especially with like the romance story in this and that film.
Yeah, I bring up Bicentennial Man because like we talked about that film on the pod too. It's like that film has a certain type of heart, and then after a certain point it takes a lane and it just rides it to the end and you have to be with it or not. And I was not.
I think I was, yeah.
But tell me a bit more about your experiences with Vanilla Sky, especially as someone going into it blind. I was revisiting, so I knew what I was up for. I could look out for certain things, but I was just curious, what was it like for you?
To go a little bit more on the whole ending part of the film, like when they are introducing this whole cryo freeze thing, it did still, even though there were the breadcrumbs, it still did feel like a bit of information overload, especially when they brought up the thing about how 125 years had passed. And they kept referring, maybe if I watch it again and pay really close attention to all
And that's
of
if you believe that. It could actually not be. It's his subconscious.
But there was, they kept talking about like, oh, you're dreaming even after death. And that part was the part that really confused me. Like, wait, so he's not alive?
I think they captured his, body at the stage between life and death and froze it, and now they have the ability to bring him back.
Right.
It's the classic concept of when you die they freeze you and they can resurrect you. What does that even mean? And I think they're taking that to this fantastical extreme where he signed the contract and on purposely killed himself so that they can freeze him, and one day he can wake up to a happier world.
I think
that type of thing. Like, why would Walt Disney keep his head cryogenically frozen if he's dead? Like, that type of thing.
Yeah, I figured it would be
age-old concept of cryo freezing.
Yeah, I figured it'd be something along those lines, but still, because the film really throws the sci-fi stuff at you right at the end, it took me quite a while to, wrap my brain around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the film leading up to that, I was really invested because there's this mystery element of what exactly is going on. And I did kind of have my, let's think about the bigger picture hat on the whole time, because they established the board, the seven dwarves, really early on, and they give them all these nicknames, and you have all this exposition about how oh yeah, they're trying to take you down. And even when it cuts to the framing device of him telling Kurt Russell, his whole backstory, they do mention, it must be a scheme by then. It's the film's really kind of pushing these guys, but maybe...
But they're never characters.
Yeah, they're never characters, but that's the thing. I was thinking, but maybe that's a trick. Because as the film goes on, they talk about them much less. It's am I meant to still remember that? Or is this revealing that it's not them?
But then they bring Timothy Spall's lawyer character into the drama more, and then he brings them up as well. So it's they do play around with it.
Yeah, the film does a really good job of balancing all of these different elements, bringing them back, taking them away for a little while, then bringing it back, and then focusing on this thing. Like
with Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing about his face being disfigured, it's is it disfigured? Oh, but now it's saying that it was never, or only for a brief time.
Or they fixed it.
They fixed it. It's but not really. And yeah, the film is well made enough that you're trusting, okay, there's an explanation here. I'm confused right now, but I want to see where it's going so I can properly understand it. And then once you, do get to the sci-fi elements at the end, it kind of does feel I'm being given a semblance of an explanation now, so the mystery element is, kind of slipping away, and it's being a little bit more rational than I was hoping.
I have a huge problem. Okay, so actually I want to get into some positives because I've been very down on this film as well.
I do like this film.
I love once Penelope Cruz comes into the movie, she's this breath of fresh air. I like the chemistry between her and Tom Cruise. I like the moment where, with his disfigured face, he comes in and he's trying to communicate with her, and he has this joke about believe it or not, this is me smiling.
Yeah.
Very natural, very real. And I like the club scene where he wore the mask and then he takes it off and he starts dancing, and the freaky image of the mask on the back of the head, and with Tom Cruise's hair, it does look like when he wears it on the front. It's just very so super specific because of who he is as well.
Yeah, the back of his hair, at the very top, is kind of going over the forehead of the mask, so it kind of does look natural. That's a fringe over his forehead.
Yeah, and I really like that. I just liked when it started to feel like a fever dream, like a panic attack, like a nightmare, where characters keep weaving in and out of the reality. Kurt Russell is fantastic. Nothing new there to report. I love Kurt Russell, but I did adore on this rewatch how much he was clearly giving a Gregory Peck performance, because the reveal again is he is an amalgamation of like these people on film and TV that Tom Cruise's character believes to be fatherly figures, and it was Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch.
Mhm.
And it's like, when you know that, you go back, you can really see that Kurt Russell is giving that Gregory Peck performance, and even in his voice is doing something a little bit different, but it's not so pronounced where if you're watching this the first time you feel like Kurt Russell's playing a character, because, and I'm curious to get your feeling on this film is made up of so many strange people. Kurt Russell feels like the most normal person in the movie, especially after a certain point. Like, he starts to really feel sympathetic towards Tom Cruise. Like, he really starts to feel bad for him, and he's like this warm presence in the movie. And I love, even though I don't care for the sci-fi twistiness of it all at the end, I do love the idea and the performance of this construct in Tom Cruise's mind, realizing that they're not real and having an existential crisis about it. I love that. I think that's so well played. I like, that's an episode of Star Trek. Like, that could be a whole episode of Star Trek.
Yeah,
or like,
it's a beat
that could
you
be its
see
own
in-
thing, but it's only like a second of the movie, but it was just still super well done, and I liked it.
Yeah, it's a beat you see in a lot of these kinds of stories where, you know, the fictional AI or whatever realizes, like, oh, I'm not real. And I like that the film played it in such a way where basically it happened during a part where only he's speaking. So, like, he's rationalizing, you know, why he's confused, he's realizing, and then he accepts it, and that's all within the same line, basically.
And it feels like a futile acceptance as well. Like, why should I have been fighting about this? It doesn't matter. Like, it feels bittersweet of a resignation to what he is. And yeah, so there's so much here. I did think that Cameron Diaz was having a lot of fun. And I did chuckle at, there's this moment where Tom Cruise enters what he thinks is Penelope Cruz, Sophia's place, but now Sophia is Cameron Diaz. And she like beats him up, and you can tell she was doing Charlie's Angels by this point.
That's a good point.
I could tell, like, those kicks and the high heels and the hair. I was like, oh, this is prime Diaz time. And this is like, she's done Charlie's Angels at this point. And those moves were Charlie's Angels moves. And I just couldn't help but reference it here and now, because we've had Cameron Diaz on the podcast a lot, and I didn't even remember that she was going to be in this. Like, of course, when the movie started, I'm like, oh yeah, Cameron Diaz is in this, but I didn't think about it when I recommended it.
It was a nice surprise for me.
And this movie has a lot of those surprises of like wonderful character actors, big and small, or ones that would go on to have careers, or ones that were wrapping up their careers at this time. So if you're invested or interested in that type of entertainment, when it's like, oh, this person pops up on the screen, this is a reward as well. It's like, oh man, the guy from Big Bang Theory's in this movie is like his wimpy secretary, you know, like Johnny Galecki's here. Okay, nice. Like, or Jason Lee, who always works with Cameron Crowe. Like, these figures that come in and out, they're very good. Steven Spielberg showed up for one moment as himself.
I like the
Very
trivia
amusing.
about that.
Yeah.
It's like he went onto set to like talk to Tom Cruise about like Minority Report or something, and Cameron Crowe was like, hey, be in this scene. You're just watching it. Come be in the scene.
Yeah.
And he just tells him like, happy birthday, you son of a bitch, or something. No. You mentioned there when Cameron Diaz is beating up Tom Cruise, you can just imagine Tom Cruise on the ground being like, oh, I'm going to make Night and Day.
Yeah, I'm going to make...
Where I knock you out every
out of
other
spite.
minute.
And I'm going to be a weird sex freak to you.
Yeah.
So, fuck you.
That's his revenge.
Yeah, that's his revenge. That's Tom Cruise's revenge. We discussed this a bit. I can't remember if this was off mic or on mic last episode, but we have not had Tom Cruise on the podcast that much.
I think that was just after we stopped. Yeah.
Was it just Night and Day?
Night and Day and Legend.
Legend
was the one that we forgot.
Legend. And even though he's a main character in that movie is so much more about the other stuff than him. And he's very young in his career. So this is him at the height of his powers. And I want to know, what do you think about Tom Cruise as a performer, an actor, a figure, and what do you think of him in this movie?
Yeah, as a performer, he's very charismatic. He always does a really good job in his roles. So it was nice having this long film to get to see him flex all of those kind of acting muscles. Because at the beginning,
And his literal muscles. He's very shirtless in this movie, and he wants you to see his ripped abs.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get to kind of similar with what we were talking about in Stranger Than Fiction. You got to see him do a whole lot of different things. It wasn't just, him any questions for betting the whole way through. Like the film really emphasizes he's this like, rich playboy character. He's got all these quippy lines but he has like some sort of self-awareness to him. You can see things really eating away at him that don't necessarily, have like a monologue associated to them to represent that feeling. And when things are, breaking down around him, you can see him express that really well. Like I remember there was the scene where he just had a nightmare about turning on the light in the bathroom and then seeing his disfigured face in the mirror when it should be normal. And then he wakes up from the nightmare, goes to the bathroom.
And it's basically the same set of shots.
Yeah. And I knew that, it was going to be normal, but it was still like intense because like, oh man, this guy, if he sees what he does not want to see, like he's going to be completely, dead basically. Yeah, he does a really good job.
I admire Tom Cruise's audacity for roles. He, when you look over his career, has taken on some very daring projects. People, nowadays herald him as like the last great movie star and like the savior of cinema. There's been a real rewriting of Tom Cruise because for a long period of time he was considered to be a freaky Scientologist, butt of a joke. Someone who's soulless and manufactured, and he doesn't feel sincere.
I mentioned the South Park Scientology episode last episode.
And but when you look over his career, whether it's roles like this or even Legend early on or Risky Business and like so on and so forth, so many, or like the stretch in the 2010s where he was doing like all these sci-fi movies like Live, Die, Repeat, where he like plays a coward for a change. He has the desire and willpower to try and play different types of characters or to involve himself with risky projects. Like this movie, he saw the original and was like on the phone saying, we've got to do this movie. And I admire that. I don't like Tom Cruise as an actor. It's the saddest part. I want to. Like, he's like Cameron Crowe's movies. I want to, but there's always a separation for me. I always find him to be uncharismatic and insincere. And there's this great interview with Christian Bale where he talks about his inspiration for doing American Psycho, playing Patrick Bateman. He talks about how he saw an interview with Tom Cruise and there was a lifelessness behind those eyes that inspired him to do that role. And when I was watching this movie, I just couldn't help but think of American Psycho. I couldn't help but think of that because there's just something about him as a performer where I just don't buy him as this lovable guy. Jason Lee and him are constantly saying we're best friends and it never feels real to me. They do these things where it's like a Hollywood director saying, oh, this will show that they're best friends because they do a silly little handshake together and they constantly say, Johnny, you're my best friend. Like it does have that.
It's like
even
The Room.
Even the ending looks like The Room on the roof with the obvious fake background and everything. And there are all these people there saying, you're my best friend and I appreciate you. And there is something there. But yeah, Tom Cruise in this movie, he was the road barrier for me because he's the center of it. And I like so much of the movie, but then there's Tom Cruise there. And there's moments, as I mentioned, where he does feel authentic, he does feel real. And as I said, I appreciate that he is willing to go for it, but I
think I'm seeing...
I don't know what it is. There's just something about him where I just look at him and just go, you are not this character.
I think I'm now seeing what you meant earlier in this episode when you said that I could retort you by saying I think that's what the film was going for. Because I think for a lot of it, that is kind of what it was going for, especially with the twist the reveal at the end that like he is kind of the center of, this setting, especially for part of it.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, that's exactly right. And I do feel like this movie is like a snapshot into what Tom Cruise was like at the time.
Hmm.
There's a great, I can't remember if it was Roger Ebert, there was a great review where they just said this film feels like Scientology, where it's like crisp and alluring, but the more you look at it, the stranger and more upsetting it is. And it does have that to it as well a bit. I don't know. There's just, I see, that's the thing. I can see, and I would love to hear more of your thoughts about it, but I can see like the retorts there, but I want to be able to see that this character is unlikable, but still be able to want to follow them. But when I'm watching this, I'm just like, I genuinely don't like him.
It is kind of like a double-edged thing to point out, because by the film's, own words, things are... The dream begins after a certain point, and a lot of the things you're talking about were before that point.
I wish the whole film was a dream.
Yeah. If the whole film was a dream, I'd be a lot more confident saying, like, well, that's what the film was going for.
But the fact that there's an actual cutoff point, and then it makes you wonder, well, why were the things before that cutoff point so cartoony?
And before that cutoff point was like the majority of him and Jason Lee's, relationship.
And without spoiling it, again, American Psycho does a lot of this stuff very well.
I haven't seen it.
But that plays around with reality as well. Yeah. But there's something about him. And look, when it comes to his real life, whatever dramas, I don't like a lot of those things either. I think he's come across as a very arrogant person, and very intense. But I know there are people out there, especially now, who love Tom Cruise and think he's the savior of cinema. I don't. But I've always wanted to look at him and get that eureka moment where I go, oh, that's the role. And it is Tropic Thunder. I do love his actual friendship with Ben Stiller. Like, they've worked together on other projects. Like, he worked on I can't remember, Ben Stiller did some sketch where he was playing Tom Cruise's, stunt double, and they worked together. And, they have, an actual comedic, back and forth. And there's just something about him working with Ben Stiller that, unlocks, this sincere bone in his body to me. And I did like him in Live, Die, Repeat / Edge of Tomorrow / whatever it was, where he played, a pathetic character. Because I think that's a part of it, too, is... There's a level of, I want to believe Tom Cruise is playing a despicable, pathetic character, but he also can't help but be cool. I wasn't joking. I found it obnoxious that he is shirtless throughout so much of this movie and, posing to the camera, and, it's showing his body in this way. It was look at him. And I know, again...
I just remember
that's the point, you could say. He's a vain person. The whole thing is his beauty is taken from him.
Yeah. I just remember there was one shot where, I think one of his nipples was hidden by, the crease in the blanket or something. Where's his other nipple? This is weird.
He's the mole on her chest.
He's just got one nipple.
Yeah, he feels synthetic.
Yeah.
I like that he was like, this isn't about vanity. Well, we can fix your arm. Fuck the arm. It is funny. This movie is funny. We haven't said that, but this movie is actually pretty funny. It actually did make me think of the first half of Storytelling, that type of humor where it's this really straight, in the film Storytelling, we had this moment where the humor of how could he do this to me? How could he break up with me? He has CP. Yeah. There's so much of that type of humor in this movie as well. We could fix your arm. Fuck the arm. But he's claiming it's not vanity.
When he's talking to the doctors and they're explaining this mask to him, and he's like, oh, that sounds great. I thought we were talking about a fucking mask or something like that. I was thinking a lot throughout the early half of the film, because it's been a recurring thing that we've brought up on the podcast, especially from you, of when the main character is a, rich prick or something like that, of how much can you be invested in him. And what was that 400th film that we did? Paul Giamatti's The Dad. The Babysitter Diaries?
Yeah, the Nanny Diaries.
I remember that was one where we, held it up as we like the rich people in this because they're telling a story about that. I had that kind of mindset in my brain, while watching this, and they do go very hard on talking about how great he is, but there is a sort of wistfulness behind a lot of it throughout the first bit. And especially once you mentioned Breath of Fresh Air, when Penelope Cruz comes into it, it kind of feels like that does get attacked a bit, where like he's still putting on these like, rich playboy charms on her, but then she says a few things here and there that make him like, try to question it. And sometimes it feels kind of insincere, but then at other times you can see that it is kind of affecting him.
But then they counter it. There's this... The film's too sappy for my liking. It's too sappy. It's too American. There's this broken guitar that he has in his home.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculed and mocked and made fun of as like a rich boy eccentric quirk. But then at the end of the movie, you get this whole little thing where it's like, no, they were all there and they all cared, and Penelope Cruz came back and she looked at that guitar and she almost wept and it was like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm like, you're countering yourself with this. Like, it's... And again, that's his mind. This is all his mind reassuring him that things worked out. I like Penelope Cruz. I think it's so fascinating that she's playing the same character from like she's doing the same thing again from whatever this original movie was. Like it's the same character, same kind of basics. I think in that one she was a mime instead of a dancer, which is very interesting. I did a little bit of reading on it, but lots of similar things. My big critique is she doesn't... Well, how much of the real her did we get to see in comparison to the fake idealized version of her? Did we get to see, do you feel? Because there is that turn.
Yeah, the film says that everything after he falls asleep on the curb is fake, so if we go by that, then everything before that was real.
So how much did she like him? Not much, right?
Yeah, because
she's more horrified by him or more disgusted by him.
Because going by the films, like the final real scene was the night where they went to the nightclub, and there was very clearly like mixed messages going on there, where it was like one of the first times she'd seen him in a while, and she was with Jason Lee, who was like officially her boyfriend, and he was saying lines that was indicating that like she hadn't talked about seeing Tom Cruise again, so like from his perspective they'd only met the one time like forever ago.
Yeah. And the whole movie is about that guilt of like how I didn't handle that situation appropriately. I should have been more open and honest, and I shouldn't have been so consumed by my vanity and my own desires and my own fears. I shouldn't have worn that mask. Like, the mask is a recurring trait throughout the movie. Like, when he's feeling really guilty, he puts on the mask because, symbolism. But I bring that up because it is something about the movie where a more modern version of this, I hate to say it, but a more modern version of this would not shy away from the fact that Tom Cruise is acting like a rich incel brat who, because he didn't get a girl, he killed himself and now lives in a dream in which he can have the girl, and now his mind's deteriorating and making it a nightmare situation in which he kills the girl, and he can't even reconcile that fact when that didn't actually happen. But this film isn't trying to say that because it has more of a sympathy for his character, but there is a level of patheticness to him that I feel is both said and unsaid in the movie. But I bring up Penelope Cruz because she does feel like a manic pixie dream girl.
Oh yeah.
And it bums me out a bit because it's like she's the heart of the movie, but she is both from the character and the film itself just a construct. She's not real to me.
Yeah, there was, after he wakes up from the curb, which the end of the film would tell us that this is where the, lucid dream sci-fi has begun. Like, her dialogue there felt very, very written. But also, it kind of felt a little bit in line with things that we'd seen from her before, whether it was stuff that was actually, dream sequences that he had, or just her, like, general, dynamic with him at times where, like, she will just say something witty over him, like, I'm an arms dealer, I deal arms. And they would play on, those kinds of, like, little jokes.
We're cowboys, yeah. Like, that's the issue I have, too, is the reality and dream in terms of the dialogue doesn't feel too different. I wish it did feel a little different. I wish that the characters in the real world at the beginning didn't feel so quirkily written. Like him and Jason Lee have just so much banter, like, well, I almost died and your life flashed before my eyes was a statement that Jason Lee said.
Yeah.
And I wish you were watching it with me because I audibly did a vomit noise at it. Like I'm not going to do it because I know some people don't like that on podcasts, but like just that, I just did a wet retching noise because it was just so like awful. I was like, that's,
they were really
and I thought they were really smart with that one.
They
really
went they went really hard with that dynamic, just like the whole back and forth. Like, are we meant to see Tom Cruise as like a shitty friend that's like manipulating this, or are we meant to take this sincerely?
Mm-hmm. The answer is both.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's but what do you feel about the Penelope Cruz of it all? She's the driving force for him. Do you think they handled it well? Do you think the intentions outweigh any of the like maybe shakier bits? Or
It's a good question. If I were meant to defend the first scene where he's waking up at the curb, I guess the super convenience of the things she's saying might be a tipping point, like a indicator of like, okay, we're starting to enter like convenience, you're the center of the universe stuff, because she kind of lays out like a blueprint for their relationship going forward. It's like, I'm going to get you up off this curb now, I'm going to let you inside, and this is going to be the point where your actions here will going forward determine like where our relationship goes.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's...
You're making a choice, just like at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it felt very, like the video games talking to you about like, you think about your decisions this point going forward.
There's an X button to press now, Bartek.
Yes. An X button, no matter what controller you're using.
Yep. Keyboard.
There's an X key.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but it also did feel, before all that stuff, especially their relationship early on. I mentioned the arms dealer thing, and you kind of had a reaction there.
I'm still having it. It never went away.
Yeah, that stuff all did feel kind of a bit eye-rolly, but I guess
it needed to switch. Like, if it's going to do that, like 1940s snappy dialogue, like if they're fucking talking like the Thin Man characters, and then he's supposed to enter like a David Lynch nightmare dream. We need a bit of a switch of the dialogue. Like, they tonally switch it. Like, there's clearly, like, the nightmarish stuff of, like, his disfigured face and how that switches on. They have all of that down. But it's like the script is like, but they're going to still talk the exact same way. But now sometimes it's a little different. But I don't know. But then maybe you're tipping your hand too much, too. It's that delicate balance.
They did give a little bit in the sense of, like, in the arms dealer scene, she does mention, at the end, like, look, speaking seriously, I work as a dental assistant, so da-da-da-da-da. So it's like, okay, so she's a bit self-aware about things. But yeah, that felt like just one little moment of that,
And
being natural.
I love Cameron Diaz. I love her. She has some of the funniest lines in the movie. Again, we covered recently the film Storytelling. She has a line that almost is from that movie in which she says, like, I swallowed your cum.
Yeah.
That has to mean something, which is... Cameron Diaz is... we're big defenders of Cameron Diaz. We love that she's started her career again after ending it with Annie. And now she's back. Big fans of that.
I think we've loved her in everything
We've loved her in everything we've
past
seen
10
her in.
years.
I'm a big fan of hers, not because she's gorgeous and all of that, but she's genuinely a funny lady, and she knows what she's doing when it comes to the humor and the sex appeal. Like, her and Heather Graham kind of fill that role, like that market, but they play drastically different roles to one another and in different ways. But that sexy blonde bombshell who is funny, you think Heather Graham and Cameron Diaz would kind of do the same kind of stuff, but they don't. But they do fill in that archetype very well.
I remember, I don't know if I mentioned this like the first time we ever covered Cameron Diaz on the podcast, but like growing up, I'd seen her and heard her in a bunch of things, and I never really thought too much of it. Just like, oh yeah, she does the job. But then...
Yeah, she was in Shrek.
Yeah, but then covering like all these films that she's in on the podcast, like, man, this lady's really funny. She's really charismatic.
And like with Tom Cruise said earlier, audacious in the roles that she picks, the types of movies that she picks. She'll do like feminist studio action comedy one time, like one year, and then next year she's going to do this, where she's like this sexy nightmare character. But I bring up her because as much as I love her and as much as I love the come line, of course, it comes at the most inopportune time because we're supposed to then take her as a serious threat because she then crashes the car, which sets off the chain of events that the movie is about in a great way. This is even before we realize we're in a dreamy state. But it's also played for laughs. And it's like, okay, how am I supposed to garner that? But the thing that really bugged me, really infuriated me, was we have this section of the movie in which Cameron Diaz returns. And she's Sophia now.
Yeah.
she's Sophia. And we know that she's not because Cameron Diaz gives these like little evil expressions.
Yeah.
And these little things to us.
Yeah,
he doesn't even see them. To us.
Yeah, little knowing looks.
What does that benefit? What does that benefit the film?
Yeah, does Tom Cruise see that? Maybe not necessarily with his eyes, but like it's his dream, so everything that happens is happening because of him.
And again, this is his mind. I can see that always being the defense of it's his mind, but from an audience standpoint,
That's what I mean, yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to have her play it sincerely like she is Sophia the whole entire time? And that makes you question what is and what isn't real, because he's supposed to be... This is the thing that makes him question his reality. But we don't have to question it because we know she's obviously not real or she's evil. And I loved how she played it.
Yeah.
But I don't want it. I think it's a much better choice if you don't have it be so on the nose. There's so many things about the movie that like is so on the nose. Like her ringtone is row, row, row your boat. You know, and it's just like, oh, you know...
Life is but a dream.
Life is but a dream. Oh, clever. Like, and they have so many of those throughout the movie. It's like, bonk, 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 dream, dream. And I'm like, guys, reel it in.
I remember you said some very similar things about Mulholland Drive as well.
I know, I'm an asshole. I hate this type of movie. But now I'm appreciating Mulholland Drive's restraint. In comparison to Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, but then you're going to remember like
the
the theater performance, like we are in a dream or something.
Oh, man. That singer from Mulholland Drive did pass away a little while ago. The one that sings that beautiful song to them that makes them weep. See, but that's so... I don't know. I was also, again, it's hard not to think about like other dream movies. Like Paprika came to mind and like things like
Elements
this.
of Perfect Blue.
Elements of Perfect Blue. Yeah, Perfect Blue's the way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Where you don't know what's real or not. Even at the end, it's still of discussion. But this film, we can get to the sci-fi ending more proper in a moment. But I just want to get your feelings more on like other aspects of the movie, like Kurt Russell, or more about Tom Cruise or Timothy Spall, or whatever you want to talk about.
Tom. Kurt Russell is a really good one. You've already kind of mentioned it, but I do like that his evolution really does lend itself to the whole, reveal at the end where he is, this kind of a little bit standoffish at the beginning, but like is kind of like leveling with Tom Cruise's character. But then when you get to the point where like he's like super emotionally invested and like, very personable with him, you start to realize like, oh, that's not how psychologists behave.
As soon as they took him out and went to the place, arm in arm with Michael Shannon, by the way, was the cop.
Yeah, Kangaroo Jack and guy himself.
Yeah, this would have been around the time of Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah, just before, I think.
Yeah, just before.
Maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start to get things with him like in the lead up to the, Tilda Swinton point where everything breaks. That is showing like, okay, we are getting to this kind of ending point where like we can't avoid that things are weird because, this
you can't have the movie actually be he had a psychotic break and killed his not girlfriend, and then Kurt Russell says, well, that's the sad thing of it all. Sometimes reality is as simple as that.
Yeah,
you had a psychosis. You actually can't end the movie that directly because that's just not how they do these things. Perfect Blue didn't do that.
It feels kind of weird because I'm kind of trying to say that like, oh, a professional is behaving unprofessionally, therefore this is unrealistic, when obviously, people can be unprofessional and breach their professionality. But the fact that he switches so drastically, like you can see throughout the film that he is sympathizing with him more and more, but it's such a hard turn at the end there that it's like, this is really extremely different. And like, he's got him around his shoulders like, this is my son. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, I bought it in the sense of like that final, like that scene where they're at the table and Tom Cruise reveals the murder / not murder, and Kurt Russell, that character's reaction to the whole entire thing was so true to me. Like, he's like, as a professional, this is the case, this is what's happening. Will I be in court? I'll only be the start of it. The rest of the story, you know how it's going to go. And then the person who has connected with this broken individual. So I like that scene formed as almost like the baton being handed off to, in Tom Cruise's mind, this is the person who's grilling me to now supporting me. I like that because at the end, that's what he is. He's the figment. He's the part of the mind that wants to keep this going as like this, self-protection, like this soothing figure, this father figure. And they did do that throughout the movie, like them sitting next to each other, Kurt Russell and him like leaning against the wall together. And it did feel really much, because Tom Cruise is a little man, it did feel like a child sitting next to their dad with Kurt Russell with the big glasses on and the age. There is something there.
And I do like that, even though, the whole element with him is like he's got a bias towards Tom Cruise because it's Tom Cruise's dream. So this character is going to be fully on his side. When you get the part where he and the tech support are talking on the rooftop.
I hate that he's tech support. I just fucking loathe that. It's so aggravating.
He reminded me of the rules from Serenity.
The rules from Serenity. I'm not joking. Yeah. He really did remind me of the rules from Serenity.
I like how we call him that guy just because he says at one point, I am the rules. But on the scene with the rooftop, when Tom Cruise says something along the lines of like, oh, so if I imagine Kurt Russell character, he'll just suddenly appear, and then the character does appear, walks up to them, and his behavior isn't being controlled at that point. He just like very naturally is playing it straight that he is suddenly there and like is still trying to take control of the situation of things that happen.
I have info on that.
And they're completely kind of just ignoring him.
So the information on that is there is an alternative ending, or more an extended, because it's in the original as well, which is Kurt Russell and him do meet each other during the chase up to the roof, and there's a shootout. Oh. And they have a shootout, and Kurt Russell gets left behind, but he says, I'm going to come up there to help you. So in the original film and in the other version of this, it still leaves you that question of, did he just summon this guy, or is it just a natural progression of, because in the way that we have it in the movie, it does feel like you've just summoned an NPC. Yeah. While in the alternative and in the original film, you followed the events where you can geographically figure out like, no, he could still be coming up, and then it just times in that way. But for time and for whatever reasons, and maybe it was just too camp in this version where they have an explosive gunfight with Michael Shannon. That's why Michael Shannon doesn't reappear either. Like in their version, they shoot him.
Right, okay.
But yeah, it's little things like that where it's like, okay, I see, like, you're doing stuff. There's a line that Penelope Cruz apparently just said to Cameron Crowe, and it becomes like the cat thing? The cat thing. She just randomly said that in frustration to Cameron Crowe, and then it becomes a part of the thesis of the movie. And it's an interesting line, but I also don't know what it means to the movie. Now, especially I know because it's just a thing she said to Cameron Crowe, and he said, oh, I like that, I'm putting that in the movie. And in a weird way, it does feel like that. And I almost feel like I have a fix for the ending of the movie with the cat line.
Well, they become cats or something?
So people, again, spoilers, movie. Tom Cruise jumps off the roof to choose, being free of the Matrix.
Because he had such an iconic fear of heights.
Because that came up all the time. I always remember that he brought that up all the time. Yeah, sure. Sure.
There was definitely one moment, there might have been a second, but Yeah.
It's not the thing I would define his character trait with.
Exactly. Yeah.
But,
the one time in like the prison cell, he stood on tables like, I've always had a fear of heights, you know?
I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
But
there was something like that.
He said it's hard to remember when he wore the mask because it does, by its design, hide him. So when he has this vulnerable thing of like, I'm afraid of heights, but he's wearing a goofy mask, all I'm thinking of is the mask and how it looks like he's Hollow Man. But he jumps off the roof and then the movie cuts and you're like, oh, that's the end of the movie, clearly. We don't know if did he wake up? But no, they cut to his eye waking up and it's like the loop of the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I hate that. And again, from what I looked up, the original movie doesn't have that. It just cuts to black. And you're like, well, yeah, it's more satisfying that way. But what happens if you cut to a cat's eye? If you're going to make this cat thing recurring throughout the movie, and if you want your movie to end on a button of like, we have an answer for what happened here, why don't you just do the cat eye? That would be weird. But it would also like make the cat thing feel more meaningful rather than it's a quirky thing she says. Just like how Jason Lee had that whole bitter sour thing that he said, and then it's said at the end, and then it's like, oh, see, we brought it back. It's like, make the lines more than just like a quirky, sappy thing that at the end you go, oh, wait, they reincorporated it. Like, I don't know how you feel about my idea, but it's something I thought about when I was watching. I'm like, if it was a cat's eye, I think I'd have a better reaction to it.
I'd be all right with it. I like cats.
Yeah, you do.
They should have done like a cute little cat video about two cats play the cat hammock music and, that's the end of the film. It's like, oh, two cats are playing with each other. They were talking about two cats throughout the film.
Since we're here talking about the ending, we've already mentioned it, but Tilda Swinton's in this movie. Suddenly she appears. She's like, "Hello, it's me, Tilda Swinton," and I kind of look like my character in that Coen Brothers movie we did, Burn After Reading.
Yeah.
I kind of look like that character again, by the way. And I'm here to explain everything to you. And then I'm going to hand it off to another character who's going to further explain things to you.
The rules, tech support.
We've already said it at the beginning, but like, we aren't fans of that. Why do you think it is that way? Like, do you think like in the minds of the filmmakers, this is a science fiction story more than, a character piece told through dreaming?
I think it might be a thing that throughout the film, my mind was going to all these different possibilities, and I didn't necessarily have a specific theory for what the ending was going to be, but none of the paths that my mind went thought about science fiction at all, and the fact that this would be like that science fiction in any way would be incorporated to the truth behind the film, it felt very sudden. Like they cut back to the dog on the TV multiple times, and they always focused on the element of like he woke up and
life extension,
and he's still living. I didn't even notice if like throughout the film they were like sponsored by that company at the end of the film.
He was the head of that company. That was his like reason for life extension.
Yeah, so
and it was on Conan O'Brien. And,
yeah, so obviously there was foreshadowing there, but you were just focusing on the wrong thing. But yeah, it just felt like all of the ideas that I had, it would be like some variation of it, maybe with like a bit of a twist that I didn't consider. But the science fiction thing not only was completely different to what I was expecting, but also was too clean in a way.
It's not the heart of the movie. And then at the end, it is. Like, it's the thrust of the movie is you're in a science fiction locale. Science fiction can be handled in a multitude of ways. It can be very overt or it can be very subtle, but it still has to be there. Like, you can have films like Bicentennial Man, as mentioned before, where it feels like our world up until a point, and then that time jumps so much where we get to see the progression of humanity, and it's like that's where it loses me. But then you can have films like Her, which is the Joaquin Phoenix movie, where it's still recognizable, but it's slightly futuristic. But the thing about that movie is it's someone falling in love with an artificial intelligence who feels so real, And it's like, okay, see, that's where the science fiction comes in, because although we like this relationship, we know it's not real. Or like films like Gattaca, and it's so often. But but the thing is,
You know what? Even
yes,
Serenity, kind of. Like,
Yeah.
at least with that one, sorry everyone, spoilers for So Bad It's Good film Serenity, I guess, but one of the reveals...
it follows the video game logic.
Yeah, you can see, and I remember when we were watching it one movie night, myself and our friend Lachlan, we both kind of were cottoning onto that fact like halfway through the film, like, oh, there's some sort of like video gamey logic here, and then in the end it is revealed to be like a computer game version of some sort of real life thing. And it was, the film is very laughable, but at least I had the satisfaction of like kind of being on the right track.
It has to obscure things. So it has to make it look like our world to an extent, but then randomly there's a hologram. Like those sudden like sci-fi details.
When that happened, it threw me up, but I completely forgot about it.
I think that's our first hint that this is a real science fiction universe. Like, we're in a sci-fi alternative world to our own. Like,
I completely forgot about that.
But that's the thing. If they lean into making it like Fifth Element level sci-fi, where it's so overtly sci-fi, then are you tipping the hand too much of what this is? Are you then going to make this more of a Total Recall type situation, where the film Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger plugs himself into a program, and then he lives his life and does the adventure, but the adventure in the movie is similar to the adventure he got given in the program. So the question to this day is the film real, or is it the dream that he bought? Still argued to this day. I don't think the film wants that to be the conversation. Like, the film's not interested in that type of, is it real or not? Like, the fact that they give us a point where it becomes fake is annoying, but then also, do you believe that? Do you believe when the tech support guy says, this is the moment, and you've been reconciling this? Like, at the end, how much of it do you believe at face value, and how much do you interpret as Tom Cruise's mind still screwing around with stuff?
I think I just take the film at face value, even though my preference would be for, the whole thing to just not exist.
Why do you take it at face value, do you think?
I guess just because the film's being really direct, and going forward it doesn't really like contradict or still play up like, oh, but this could be fake. So this leads into the whole trivia thing about like, what do you believe in the end? It's like, well, the film wanted to lead me down this final point, so yeah, I'm going with how the film ended, and the feelings it instilled in me there. If I were to say like, oh no, I don't believe that, I feel like I'd just be not necessarily writing the film at that point, but like trying to take away this final act that I wasn't too keen on.
I'm a bit surprised that we have landed so similarly on the movie, because I walked in thinking, I reckon Bartek's going to love this, because it has a lot of things that you appreciate, very much so. And
I do not hate the film in the end, but it is just kind of...
Nor do I.
But I do feel just kind of a little bit let down that like, this is something that really, really should be up my alley. Like, I want this to be on the level of like, Perfect Blue or something, but it's just not there.
Yeah, it has its moments. There's this absolutely breathtaking scene when Tom Cruise is at the bar and he's talking to what we find out, again, the tech support guy. Fucking hate that. But the audio completely drops. Every piece of audio is now gone and it's complete silence. And it's just this whole scene of just demonstrating like, none of this is real.
Yeah.
This is all an illusion. And it was a great moment, because although we've had our hints and our teasers and the vanilla sky in the background and all those things, it never got to that level. We were talking about this in Slow West, how that movie did a brilliant job of slowly ramping up the surreal world that those characters lived in. So when we got like like an aside where a character's narrating a story and the characters in the story are lip syncing to the narrator, it didn't feel out of place. This movie has that to an extent, and that scene with the audio dropping, that hit, that was really effective. Like, yeah. I liked when the movie was playing around with movie making, like the crash scene, how he kept revisiting it and how it was filmed in all these different ways, and you never felt like, because we're so focused on Tom Cruise, there was a level of like, did Cameron Diaz die in that? It feels so offhand.
Because even before, the cutoff point, there is a lot of twist. The film begins with it, even, where things are revealed to like, oh, that was a dream that he was just having.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the film begins, he's driving through New York, there's no one there, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Then he wakes up, does the scene again, and everything's normal. And you even have later on a character, the psychologist character, being like, well, it could represent loneliness. It's like, oh, that's so cliche, kind of thing. And then you do have shortly after the crash scene, he does have a sequence where he's talking to Sophia in the park, and, they're being all romantic, and he's like, yeah, I survived, it's just miraculous that my face is totally fine. And then she says something that throws him off, and they start to grow physically distant in this dream, and then it's revealed, oh, that's a dream. So the film is doing like, oh, the scene you were just watching, yeah, that wasn't real, but at least it's being like upfront about it. And then like, oh, okay, so I need to interpret, what was the meaning behind this dream, and then go forward, see what the real events are.
I don't have too much else to discuss. I have one final point, but is there anything else that you want to talk about with the film itself, or
I guess the only
anything?
Real elephant in the room is like, what did we think of Conan in the film? Because he's the reason we picked.
I wish he was in it more.
The thing
he did feel like the Conan we saw in storytelling, where it just felt like it was his show and he was making gags.
This is the bizarre thing, because I walked into this film thinking like, oh, he's doing the storytelling thing. He's going to appear and like do an acting performance. But in the credits,
he's himself.
They credit no, they didn't. I don't think they actually credited him in the cast. In the later in the credits, when it was, because I watched the whole thing for some reason.
Because they had like a color change.
It was mentioning like all of the different footage that they used. So, like they took things from this film, this TV show, and they credited the Conan thing as footage from the Conan O'Brien show.
Oh, I saw that. They credited and attributed and a thank you to like Conan's production and whatnot.
Oh, I thought it said that like the footage was from the show. So like, was that a real thing that happened?
No, because he was talking about the sci-fi gimmick. What I think they're thanking for is he used his actual studio and actual crew to do that thing.
Okay, I don't remember.
That's what I took, because it's filmed like it is his show. It isn't like how in storytelling where it's like clearly it's his show, but filmed by Todd Salons, where we're getting surreal stuff. In this, it's straight, just it's Conan, but he's talking to the sci-fi creator, and the dog is sitting there, and the dog is like, making jokes about like, oh, the dog doesn't seem like he's got a lot of like, he's still a bit lifeless from the freezing stuff. Like,
I just don't remember the credits putting that under special thanks. I thought it was more in like the list of things that they took things from. So I was a bit confused there. Like, I think I would have heard about Benji the dog at some point, but I don't know. But
my big question is, we've talked about this a lot, but here's another elephant in the room. Dreams. Mm-hmm. It was all a dream. Can be very contentious for storytelling, can be hackneyed, can be the thing that completely destroys it.
You weren't happy with Hentai Kamen's ending?
No. I can't believe you just reminded me. It holds it back from being a 5-star. But what do you feel about that? And does this film manage to skate by that or not? Like, what's the way of getting it right and what's the way of getting it wrong? Because I think we've all been there, where you watch something or play something or consume something and then it was all a dream, and you just throw your hands up in the air. Because I think the thing about It Was All a Dream is it feels like it's an acknowledgement of you just wasted your time.
If it's a film where the dream, quote unquote, is just like a straightforward, completely naturalistic, like no dream logic thing, and then the twist is that it was a dream, that is hackneyed. But this film, like, dreams is actually like a theme of the film. So I don't see this as being an example of like It Was All a Dream disappointing film, because that's what this film's about.
Yeah, I also think another issue, and I do think this film, because, well, just to talk about your point, but by that logic, Serenity's good because it does follow those beats, and yet it does still feel like a cheap ending to that movie. Yet it doesn't feel out of nowhere, but it also feels like, well, what was the point? But my thing that I do take issue with this movie is, and I'll be real, I took issue with it with Mulholland Drive as well, is you can skate on by by playing up, oh, it was all a dream, to come across as really clever. Like, it is almost a shorthand for, like, see, all of this stuff we did, it was all a dream. Isn't that clever? Like, that's another complaint about the it was all a dream twist, is it's often a twist that people use to come across as, like, really clever. And after seeing it be trotted out so many times, does it still have that weight to it? And I feel an ache of that here, but not like a full level of like, no, I poo-poo that. But there is a level of like unearned, smug brilliance on the movie's part because, guys, we were playing around with dreams. It was all a dream. And not all, it was all a dream. Like, 49% of it was all a dream. Like, I do take umbrage with that a little bit with the movie, but not fully to like say that's my huge problem with
I guess with this film that they play around with that because they do have like little segments of the film where they do like it was all a dream thing. It then asks you to think about that dream and the film continues from there. Whereas with Mulholland Drive, the thing I really loved about that film was the fact that when it did reveal, everything up to this point was a dream, the film then showed you reality, and you started to, if you have very dream-minded mind, you would think about like how things were twisted from reality to become different in the dream. And so that was the thing that I really loved.
There was an authenticity.
Yeah, that was what I loved about Mulholland Drive.
In Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I think that is true, and I think this film glances at that at times for myself. I think what makes it another thing, and I'll be curious of, rewatchability factor. They want you to be like, well, when you rewatch it again, you'll be able to pick up all these details. And I find that the details that they put in this movie are very heavy-handed. Like, very, very heavy-handed, and it kind of is to the detriment of the film at times. That's where I also have, like, a bit of a... it's all a dream stuff can be just less rewarding, because when you go back to it, things like her ringtone being that song just feels so silly.
See,
that's in reality too, from the film's logic. When she has her ringtone, it's all but a dream.
I think that was a dream. That was a dream.
No, because that's when we first meet her.
Oh, from the beginning of the film.
Yeah, Cameron Diaz. She has her ringtone.
Oh, never
her
mind
ringtone.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little element of the
But you
filmmaking.
start thinking about it, but then that goes, well, you're trusting his brain telling you that the film wasn't in a dream the whole time, so maybe it was a dream the whole time because her phone tells you it is but a dream. Like,
I think that's just, Hollywood filmmaking there. Like, a little foreshadowing for the audience.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking about what I just said about Mulholland Drive, and in terms of a rewatchability factor for this, I think it would be just so I can see where they're playing around with like the dream logic, because you'd be looking for, what parts are real. And then when you're watching the dream, you're seeing like how that would be twisted there. Like off the top of my head, I can't necessarily think of too much other than maybe when Cameron Diaz replaces Sophia, there might be some stuff going on.
Whole, did he kill Sophia? Did he not?
Yeah, maybe. There was also one point where they mentioned Ellie.
Yeah.
And I kept remembering that name in my head because they're like, what happened to Ellie? I'm like, okay, well, eventually there's going to be some Ellie character. I don't think they ever pop up.
I can't remember. I remember that there was mentions of, I'm forgetting the character's name, but the one who worked as like the secretary of the dream place, and he like knows her name when he walks in, and it's like her name was mentioned a couple of times throughout the movie, but I don't think she was.
He says something like, "Your name is this."
Yeah, Libby or something like that.
Yeah,
played by Alicia Witt, who was in David Lynch stuff. She was Paul Atreides' younger sister in Dune, and she was Donna Hayward's younger sister in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
And then she came back for Twin Peaks: The Return, where she plays like a drug addict living in the woods, and you don't even realize that she's supposed to be the same character as like Donna Hayward's sister. And so you're like, wait, what? And then you just have to just keep going. You just have to move on from that. You just have to go, well, that's Alicia Witt as Libby. Yes, Libby.
Yeah. There was a scene, it was one of the scenes where Kurt Russell was, asking him like questions to like get him to think about, the things he's forgetting. It's like he's asking like, do you remember what happened to Ellie or something? And I don't think, as far as I can recall, the name ever came up again.
Interesting.
So I don't know what that was about. I might have missed something, but
Well,
Yeah, it was just a
time for a rewatch.
Yeah, exactly. I do think there is element of rewatchability to this, just to see fully how it all plays out. I think even Roger Ebert in his review said, like, this is a film you can't really think about too much until you've watched it twice.
Yeah. And how much of that desire for the rewatch is for the intellectual exercise, and how much of it is for the emotional catharsis as well?
I think for me it is more the intellectual side, just to see how everything is structured from like a, completely third eye point of view.
We brought up Satoshi Kon in
Yes.
this discussion.
Paprika, we brought
and
up Perfect Blue.
That's kind of how I feel about those movies, where Perfect Blue, I'd love to watch again for the emotional catharsis, not the
Yeah.
pure how does this all add up. While Paprika is, I would watch it for the intellectual. I want to rewatch it for the intellectual exercise to see how these things, work in whatever ways. Like and both of those things have their merits, of course, but like one of them is more rewarding for me, and that's the emotional stuff. Like that's why, even though I've never been a big fan of Mulholland Drive, I still do come back to it because there is a haunting beauty to that movie. And then Billy Ray Cyrus is there too. So that is Vanilla Sky. I do recommend it at the end of the day. Like, it is a unique film. I am curious to see the original version of the movie.
Yeah, the Spanish film.
I would love to give that a watch to then have a better understanding. I was tempted to maybe watch it along with this, but then I was like, no, I want to focus on Vanilla Sky. And even if I did, I would want to watch Vanilla Sky first because that's the movie that we're talking about.
In it, yeah.
But then after watching Vanilla Sky, I'm like, I need a break from that, and I could give this a visit in like a little while's time and maybe we do it on the podcast one day. I don't know, but yeah, I do recommend it. I wish we had more movies like this of like this scale, like with this type of cast and like just a like absolute ham-fisted love of itself. Like this movie loves itself. Like there's so many like random celebrities that are just thrown in here for no real good reason either. Like this is a New York movie, and there's so many LA people here though. Like it was weird. It was a weird movie. Liked it, but also hated it.
If it was an LA film, it would be Mulholland Drive.
It would be Mulholland Drive. But that is my thoughts. What about you, Bartek? What do you think? What would you do? What would you recommend?
I would recommend it. Like I said, the journey of watching the film itself was really gripping. I had fun with that. Obviously, it soured a little bit with the final act, but there's still a lot of good things here.
Yes. So that is the discussion done. Now it's time to hear what we will be talking about next time, what we will be watching for the podcast, and it is the listening people's choice.
Yes. Listening people, what have you got for us?
That's right, listening people. You out there can recommend movies to us, so please make sure to hit us up on social media or our email address to do so. But I'm choosing one that was a verbal.
You're choosing one?
Well, I'm the one that tells us.
Oh, you're the truth sayer.
Yeah, I'm picking a listening people's one that was a verbal one.
It's a recent film, isn't it?
Not at this time now, but I mean, it was recent when we got verbally told it.
Okay.
A good friend, Sorab, who we love and cherish on the podcast.
He's great.
We love Sorab. Love to have him back. I'll see if I can wrangle him. But saw him, in a play a couple of years ago.
I was there.
And he said to us, "Oh, you guys should do this movie on the podcast. It's great." And then we both said, "Uh-huh." Like we both, "Uh-huh." And then it never got added to our list. But it did stick in my brain because I respect Sorab, and he was so passionate about this movie. It is The Green Knight, which is an Arthurian legend tale. The Green Knight was one of the Knights of the Round Table.
Okay.
Modern-ish film. I think it's like 3 or 4 years old now. But stars Dev Patel in the lead role of The Green Knight. I've never seen it. I knew of it. It was one of those movies where when it came out, there was some hubbub about it because like it has a certain visual look, but also I think people just are rooting for Dev Patel as an actor.
Have we seen him on any podcast film yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think we
we've
have.
brought him up when we've talked about movies on the pod. Like,
Yeah.
we've talked about Slumdog Millionaire at some point.
We've definitely talked
or
about Life of Pi.
Life of Pi. Like, he is an actor that we have talked about because he's just a figure. But yeah, this was a movie where, you know, he did this as the lead role in it, and it was like, again, people are kind of rooting for him to be. We've talked about Lion as well. We both
I'm sure
enjoy
we have,
Lion.
yeah.
Oh, we've both talked when we did Nicole Kidman movies. We've talked about Lion because I think
Good point.
you were like, oh, that's a more recent Nicole Kidman movie I've seen. But yeah, so we will be talking about The Green Knight from 2021. So yes, a few years old, but everyone make sure to tune in for that and make sure to watch the film yourself. Just double checking, no, we've never had Dev Patel in a movie.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
He's circled around movies. He even did, his first movie was doing the English dub for Only Yesterday. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. The Ghibli animated film. I didn't know that. He was like a child when he did it, so that's... Okay, learning stuff. We'll learn more about Dev Patel next time. Bartek, is there anything you want to tell the listening people before we leave?
I want to tell the listening people that if they want to tell us things, they can do so on the internet at various places. For example, there is the Twitter, also known as the X.com, where we are there under the account Spit and Polish Presents. I think Presents is in the name. We're also on Facebook. We've got a page, Spit and Polish Presents. We've got our YouTube channel, also Spit and Polish Presents. And we also have a Gmail that they can contact us. Which, Bartek, what's the email? The email is spitandpolished@gmail.com. You can contact us any which way there. We sometimes even get film recommendation through like direct messaging. That's what happened with storytelling.
Our YouTube is great. We upload our videos there. We need to verify our age now because Australia has a rule that if you are thought to be under 16, you get deleted. That's a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a big thing right now. All over the world, like England has it for 18 or like 14. Or we have 16. It's a whole thing. There's a whole hubbub about like a bunch of these social media sites having like really fucked up age verification things because of all these new laws happening. Apparently, you'd love this. One of the things Discord has this that people got around Discord was you need to do a face verification for it. And so people have found using like pop vinyl dolls works and silly things like that. And people unironically used pictures of just David Lynch and it worked. If you just show it like a physical picture or your phone it just works. So, but yes, we are on YouTube. People drop comments there and subscribe and give us a rating and review, all of that stuff.
Because the Spit and Polish YouTube channel, I mean, it's run by two people. Do we both have to verify? Because what if one of us
If you did it, it would work because you have a beard.
That's true. I
don't.
I very often get accused of being older than I look.
And actually, they'll look at you and go, "No, Bartek, shave. You're in school after all. You're not allowed to have a beard in the Catholic school."
Yes, that's all very true, actually. In fact, here's a fun thing. This might be actually related to Ace Attorney, which you're currently playing. The first time I played the Ace Attorney games, it was on the Wii. There was the Wii digital WiiWare versions.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't have, a debit card so I can put money on the account. I had to go to EB Games to buy I think the Wii points cards, which give you like a digital code. You go into the shop on the Wii, you input the code, you get the points that way, and that's how you can buy things.
Nintendo sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. Friend codes and all that jazz.
These are all foreign words to me.
Yeah. You know how on most platforms you can just find a user, click add friend?
Yeah.
For some older Nintendo consoles, you have to go onto your profile, find your very long friend code, which is like randomized like numbers
Gibberish,
and stuff, and you have to hand that to people and say, hey, input this to add me as a friend. It was annoying, to say the least. Anyway, I one day went after school, I was year 11 or something, so I looked in my mid-20s.
So you were 17?
Yeah, 17, school uniform, blazer and everything, went to EB Games at Chadstone Shopping Centre, and I, grabbed the card, went up to the guy behind the register, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "You're like an adult and you're wearing a school uniform?" Like, "Yeah, I'm 17.
I love that. You could have got alcohol by that man's logic.
And from what I remember, he told me about how he's trying to own every Mario game or something. I'm like, oh,
I hope
cool.
he did it.
I hope he succeeded. There's a lot more since the last 15 years.
Yeah. To end this episode on, this is not a bit, this is not real. Bartek will see that my hand is slowly grabbing something from next to me. Throughout this entire discussion, I have had the DVD disc of Cameron Diaz's The Other Woman right next to me.
You know,
and in the corner of my eye, I could see her very frowny face in my periphery, cheering me on, saying, "You keep talking about Vanilla Sky. You bring me up in Charlie's Angels." Have you had, this is the final thing, a favorite Cameron Diaz performance we've done on the pod?
So earlier when I was saying, like, we've done a lot of films with her and she's always really great, I was thinking, like, oh, but she wasn't The Other Woman, but she was all right in that, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
We liked her in that. She was the cynical one, and she had to deal with Nicki Minaj as her secretary, which was insane.
Yes.
My favorite is Very Bad Things.
Very Bad Things.
Where she's the bride in Very Bad Things, the one that is all, like... Do you not remember her in Very Bad Things? She's the bride. She's the one where spoiler alert for that movie, it ends with her crying, going insane, walking out on the street and collapsing and laughing insanely because her life has now turned into like an Old Testament punishment because like she enabled them to hide their crimes and she actually like encouraged them to kill their friends.
It's coming back to me now. I completely
she's great. She's the evil, like she's Jon Favreau's bride. She's like the one that like he's getting married to, and she finds out about the situation and she's just like, well, you have to eliminate them.
I remember that element. Yeah, I just forgot that it was her.
And she's holding a toilet brush at the end, and it's like, I'm not kidding. Some of the best physical comedy I've ever seen is Cameron Diaz at the end of that movie, like doing this absolutely like zany walk as she's like losing her mind. And she has this toilet brush in her hand and she's holding it by like the rope of the toilet brush and she's just flinging it around everywhere while holding on to it. And it is hysterical. And she's mean in that movie. Like she's not nice. She's evil, and I love seeing that perky, friendly, smiley Cameron Diaz just drop all of that and just give you ice. We don't see it all that often from her, but I love her in Very Bad Things. And the fact that you forgot her in that,
I need to rewatch that film because, yeah, I was just gonna go with, you know, it's hard not to think of the foster home headmistress in Annie, where she's singing about little girls.
It was so good. She basically stopped her career to end on that note.
She needed a little break after, you know, completely nailing the best performance ever.
She needed a little break after looking after little orphan Annie.
Cameron Diaz is great.
She's great. We love her. Give her an Oscar.
Yeah, even if she didn't win the Oscar, just give it to her.